We can share it on the group.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So let's begin with our prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Roopa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we have to do chapter 6. We'll start chapter 6. Okay. Is my voice clear and the screen visible? Just want to make
Yes,
sure.
Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. So chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Eightfold Yoga System. So let's understand what this is about. Before we begin, let's pay our obeisances to Sri Radha Govinda. So summary of chapter 5. Nishkama Karma Yoga is easier than renouncing work. Then in the next section, it was about how to perform Nishkama Karma Yoga. Then platform of knowledge, knowing the three doers. Liberation by focus on the super soul. The liberation through Ashtanga Yoga. Peace on the platform of liberation. Krishna said Nishkama Karma Yoga is better. And how to achieve peace was also discussed. And he says both are equal, renouncing work and all, that also will lead you to the same goal. But Karma Yoga is easier. Nishkama Karma Yoga frees us from the bondage. So one can attain liberation by focusing on the Supreme. And he spoke about Ashtanga Yoga and Bhakti Yoga also. Both give liberation. But then he didn't speak much about Ashtanga Yoga there. He just mentioned briefly. So in this chapter, we'll learn a little more in detail. So, yeah, let's go through this and then that. So this is a summary of chapter 6. Advancing in yoga through detached work. That is the first 4 verses. In section 2, we'll learn about the Yoga Ruda stage, giving up work. Then section 3, further stages in the practice of yoga. The necessity of controlling the turbulent mind. The destination of the unsuccessful yogi. What will happen if the yogi is not successful? The topmost yogi. So we'll understand what is yoga actually, what is Ashtanga Yoga and what is yoga. So basically Ashtanga Yoga has 2 stages, the beginning stage and the advanced stage. Yoga Rurukshu stage, beginning stage. Advanced stage is Yoga Ruda stage. There are various practices, so much, so many stages are there to reach perfection, to realize the super soul. So it is not an easy process. And in yoga, it is very important. It is a necessity to control the mind. So that's why they practice so much, to control the mind by practice. And they have to practice detachment also. And if by, it might take too many years, hundreds of years. If the yogi is unsuccessful, then he'll be given another opportunity. Krishna is very merciful, Little bit what we do also to attain him, to understand him, we will get eternal benefits. So we'll continue from where we stopped. So we cannot call them as they have failed or something, but they will get, more and more chances. Ultimately, they will reach the stage of Bhakti Yogi, which is the ultimate goal. And a person has to reach that stage. Only then he'll be successful. Now, this was supposed to come before that. So this was an important verse we learned last time. Bhoktaram yagna tapasam sarvalokam heshwaram surudam sarvabhutanam jnatva shantim rachati. So a person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, such a person, who understands that Krishna is the beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities. He is the proprietor, he is the enjoyer, and he is the only well-wisher we have. A person, a living entity who understands these 3 things will attain peace. from the pangs of material miseries. He'll be very peaceful because he understood these things, that he is the proprietor, he is the enjoyer, he is the beneficiary, and he is the only well-wisher we have. So then you'll be really, really happy. That is the peace formula. So now let's go ahead. What is yoga actually? We saw this in the 18-day course also. When somebody says yoga, this is what comes into our mind, right? Different postures, breathing techniques. You have so many yoga studios, so many books, so many websites. This is what yoga. We sit and do some like this, we breathe, we do all this. So is this yoga? Let's try to understand. Is this yoga? Is this yoga? Is this yoga? See, this is what comes into our mind, right? This is what we see. For our own health benefits, we do yoga. Like we call this yoga. But actually, this is watered down version of what is Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga was practiced long, long back by going into the forest, sitting in a particular posture, and we'll understand the different stages. So it was not something very easy. And it was not like suddenly we'll jump to pranayama stage and start doing pranayama. Oh, I'll eat whatever I want. I'll drink whatever I want. I will have uncontrollable, desires. But I will, go and just sit in a posture and call myself a yogi. That's not how it was. There are a lot of discipline to be followed. Control of mind, control of senses. A lot of stages were there. It's not an easy process. So this is, so what is the real meaning of yoga? We'll understand in this chapter. So Ashtanga Yoga, 8-limbed connection. So these are the different stages. Overview of the stages. So what are the 8 different stages? Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and then Samadhi. We cannot jump. It's like a child goes to preschool, then goes to kindergarten, then goes to first grade, second grade, third grade. Directly, you cannot say, I'll do PhD directly. That will not happen. So to reach the stage of Samadhi, a person goes through all these different stages. Yamas means external disciplines. Niyama, internal disciplines. Yamas are don'ts. Niyamas are rules to be followed. We'll read that also. Asana, they have to sit on a particular, a deer skin, and it has to be a little higher than the ground. And there's some rules to that. Pranayama, breath control. Pratyahara, withdrawal of senses. Dharana, concentration. Dhyana, meditative absorption. And finally, Samadhi, union, integration. So it starts with external discipline. A guru also gives us a lot of discipline, right? Externally, we have to follow this. We'll feel like, why should I follow all this? It's so much pain and all that. But that is what will actually cleanse our heart, that will lead to internal discipline, external discipline. Like externally, we keep our body clean, follow all the regulatory principles and everything. Internally also, we chant and all that. A lot of things are there in Krishna consciousness. But in Ashtanga Yoga, it was a much more, severe austerity performed. So that's how it is. Let's go ahead and learn. Advancing in yoga through detached work. Ashtanga yogis, like Nishkama Karma yogis, engaged in detached work to advance. Okay, once we go to the yoga ladder, we'll understand this better. Okay, now, how does detachment come? Detachment comes to one who realizes that he is not autonomous in his actions. He understands that without Lord's sanction, he cannot do anything. So who is the doer here? Say, I did this, I did that. Talk about yourself means somebody will talk so much, right? I'm this, I'm that. But nothing we can do. We can't even move a finger without the Lord's sanction. So that we should always realize. Okay. So Jiva desires, super soul verifies and sanctions based on, does this Jiva deserve to get this desire fulfilled? It is like the father always knows what is good for the child, right? Child, 10-year-old or 5-year-old cannot go and say, Dad, give me 10 rupees. I want to go and do, some activity. I want to buy some nonsense. Father will not agree. He'll say, no, you're not even, you're too small for all this. You don't even know what you're asking. So the Lord knows, do we deserve what we are desiring? Are we asking for the right desire? He'll look at all that. So same way, if you go to a demigod, what will happen? It is like going to someone else, an uncle or a neighbor, and saying, or going to the shopkeeper directly and saying, I'll give you 100 rupees, give me this. The shopkeeper out of business, he'll just give it. We see that, right? All these asuras also get all kind of boons from Brahma, from Shiva. They get it anyway. But is it good for them? Like, what is ultimately they get killed by, Vishnu, Krishna, right? They all have to be taught a lesson in the end. So, like that, the Lord knows what to give, what not to give. He is like a supreme father. So, after receiving his order, material nature through three modes, sattva, rajas, and tamas, fulfills jiva's desires. So, whatever activities we perform, the desires we have, based on that, we are facing consequences. So, who is the doer? We should understand. One who purifies his vision and activity by Nishkama Karma Yoga can make further advancement. What it means is, for a person to reach the stage of Ashtanga Yoga, you would have already gone through various stages. You would have finished Nishkama Karma Yoga also. Because he's gone through that stage of Nishkama Karma Yoga, because he's gathered knowledge, now he is going towards Ashtanga Yoga. So only he can make further advancement by practice of meditation on super soul by Ashtanga Yoga method. So a person who is actually sitting in this posture, sometimes they have to sit for 10,000 years or thousands of years. Because in those days, that was a different yoga, Satya Yoga. They had a very long life. They could afford to sit like that for a long, long time. But in Kali Yuga, we have a very short life. So by meditating on the super soul, one can develop devotion to him in Bhakti Yoga, understanding that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, ultimate controller, and best friend. What happens is, by following the different practices, control of mind and senses, slowly they go to the dharana stage, and comes a stage when they actually realize the Paramatma in the heart. So that stage is where they actually understand, oh, this is the absolute truth. That it should lead them to that stage. It may not, or it may lead. Beyond all this is Bhakti Yoga, where that person is completely in love with Krishna, and he will do anything, he'll serve the Lord. He wants to be his associate. That is the final stage. So now connection between chapter 5 and 6. Let's understand. Okay. See, knowledge increases. I'm not the body, I'm the soul, and the detachment, Jnana Yoga. And then like the Kumaras, they did not know that Lord is a person. So they were thinking Lord is energy, God is this, God is that. Then slowly one day, they followed the fragrance of tulsi and camphor, and they're very strong fragrance. So they followed and followed and followed, and they reached. Finally, they saw him. And they did, no, this is God. So after that, they became Bhakti Yogis. So they reached that stage. Then consciousness increases and they realize the super soul. Now, see, this is the yoga ladder. Let us understand what is yoga ladder. See, yoga, first of all, what do you understand by yoga? What is yoga?
It's a connection between this connection to the Supreme.
Yes, Mathaji, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So yoga is the process of linking ourselves with the Supreme, right? That connection, that is very important. And here this process is compared to a ladder to reach the topmost level, which is spiritual realization. So this ladder begins from the lowest material condition of the living entity. Lowest condition means it's like animal life. Animal life means, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Animals understand only that, right? Bodily comfort. They don't know anything beyond that. But actually, if you see, even animals also following some rules, actually. They are also following some rules. In the sense, they eat when they are hungry. Not like us, no? They're not like, oh, let me keep on munching. It's not like that. If you throw a bag of rice in some place, it seems the birds will come and take how much ever they need. A human being is not like that. He will take everything for himself. And he'll think, oh, greed. He will not think, okay, there are 10 people waiting. Let me share. Very few people think like that, right? They'll say, let me grab all the 10 bags and I'll store it for future. That's the nature. So animals, see, they mate during seasons. They eat when they are hungry. And they attack only when they feel threatened. They don't simply go on attacking people or anyone. There will be a reason, like they may feel threatened or something. So they also, to defend themselves, they'll attack. So they follow some rules. So that is the lowest stage, so where a human being is behaving like an animal or maybe worse. Okay, so it begins from that stage. Then he does karma kanda activities, fruitive activities. Fruitive activities is they do some activity, they enjoy the fruits. I'll do this, I'll get this much. What do I get if I do this? What do I get? That's a kind of attitude. And then slowly, their consciousness will evolve. They perform sacrifices. And then by performing sacrifices, sometimes they even go to heavenly planets after leaving the body. That also is there. And then at one stage, while doing all these sacrifices, they will realize, all these mantras also end with, they say Narayana Samarpayami, Om Tat Sat. They're saying all this. So they understand, that slowly it will lead towards Karma Yoga, where they'll understand all these Devi, Devatas, all of them, they are not independent. Where are they getting all their energy? Where is their energy coming from? Where are they getting the supplies? To give us all the supplies, whatever they brought, where are they getting from? Oh, there is the Supreme Lord. He is the Supreme. That they kind of become aware. It's not realization. We cannot say they become self-realized, but they become aware that there is, this God. So slowly by Karma Yoga, what is happening? They're connecting with the Supreme. So now they accept that the material goal is not the end of our human life. That can't be the ultimate goal. So there is a transcendental goal. So they become aware of that. Then there is Sakama Karma also, where they do something good. Sakama Karma yoga is one thing. Sakama Karma means if you add yoga, it means it is some activity is done for the Lord. Otherwise, it's just Sakama Karma, just like that. And then Nishkama Karma yoga is where the person actually does the activity also for the Lord. The fruits are also for Krishna. So he'll serve Vishnu, and then he's doing the activity also for Vishnu. The fruits also, he doesn't want anything. It is for the Lord. That's all. He doesn't want anything in return. There's no selfishness. There's no self-centered motive, nothing like that. By doing Nishkama Karma Yoga, his heart becomes purified, and slowly he'll develop detachment towards all the material, materialistic life. So detachment will develop, knowledge also will develop, because he's going to understand the absolute truth now. You slowly understand, Lord is the Supreme Father. He's the proprietor. He's supplying everything. He's taking care of me. He'll start understanding. He'll start speculating. Then next comes Jnana Yoga, where what do Jnana Yogis do? They speculate. They try to understand. They study. They do all this. And then their knowledge will increase more and more. And it is like the knowledge is develops in terms of negation. This is not absolute truth. That is not absolute truth. It's like that. So this is matter, that is matter. So what is absolute truth? They're trying to speculate. They renounce work also, and they engage in the study of scriptures. They discuss. You can see, right? There are many, there are jnanis who just do that. Jnana yogis means they're studying scripture. They're actually trying to analyze. They also delight in knowledge. They're like, wow, they're very happy. Oh, they're gaining all this knowledge. This knowledge is so wonderful. They think like that. And they may attain Brahman realization. After giving up the body, they may reach Brahman stage, because that's what is their goal. But in that Jnana Yoga stage, they don't know what to meditate upon. It is like they have some vague idea, some governing principle, some energy. That's all they know. They don't know what do I meditate upon. That is not there. So higher than that, higher than Jnana Yoga is Ashtanga Yoga, where there is knowledge, there is detachment, and they're also meditating. All three things are going on there. And this is the beginning of Paramatma realization. Then slowly, when they reach the Samadhi state, they actually realize, oh, there's Paramatma in the heart. What is he doing? He's just standing. He doesn't even blink. He just stands and keeps gazing. It's like, when are you coming home? As if Krishna is looking at us in serious way, saying, when are you coming back home? It's like that. So that they should reach that stage. It has to happen. It may not happen. Then they'll get another opportunity. So Prabhupada says, the real goal of Ashtanga Yoga practice is to meet the Paramatma within the heart and then follow his dictation. That is the real goal of Ashtanga Yoga. So Ashtanga Yoga and Jnana Yoga, both are not easy, they are actually impractical. That's what is given in the purports also. Impractical because, studies of scriptures and sitting and analyzing, dry mental speculation, it's very, very tedious and it's very, very difficult. Ashtanga yoga is not even possible for us. Like going in the forest, sitting there and eating. The food also is different. It's not like how we cook in our kitchen, and it's not like that. We have to give up a lot of things and control of the mind, taking away your, senses. You will hear the birds chirping. You will hear so many things. There's so many things going on. Our senses are constantly, giving us all that information, right? I hear something, I see something, I know all this. But they have to just withdraw all their senses completely. It is not easy. So it's not a path, especially for us in Kali Yuga. It's not at all easy. So those who realize the Paramatma, they are actually very, very advanced. And then the final stage which happens is, what is it? Loving devotional service. When they really actually understand who is Bhagavan and fall in love with Krishna, that is the final stage. So step 0 is fruity worker, performing rituals for elevation to heavenly planets, Karma Kanda stage. Okay, regulated sense gratification in accordance with scriptures. They have regulated sense gratification in accordance with scriptures. They have surrendered to that extent. They know that, there is some higher authority. I have to practice this much. That much surrender has come. Next is renouncing the fruits of one's labor. Renouncing fruits, speculative knowledge is also there, and Brahman, and they're also doing some austerity. Step 3, we see renouncing fruits. There is knowledge. There is control of mind and senses. By the Eightfold Path, meditation on Paramatma and Super Soul within the heart. So Ashtanga Yoga includes all this knowledge, meditation, and control of mind and renunciation, detachment is also there. But in loving devotional service, there was no work in Ashtanga Yoga. They're not doing any work. Their only work is to sit and meditate and follow the rules. They have to go up the ladder, reach that stage of samadhi. So they are working for that. There is no actual fruity work going on, no activity as such. But there is work in Bhakti Yoga, there is work. So Bhakti Yoga means loving devotional service. Service means there is work to the Supreme Lord Bhagavan. So it's like Bhakti Yoga includes everything and surpasses all the other yogas. So that is the ultimate. Bhakti Yoga includes and surpasses all these other things that we see here. Okay. So that's the highest stage. So let's see here now. So Bhakti Yogi is like a personal associate of the Lord. There is loving, transcendental relationship between the Lord and the Bhakti Yogi. Okay, when they get this realization of the Lord as Bhagavan, that means they're already in love with Krishna. They are attracted to him, they're attached to him. Like the Kumaras, they become completely attached to the Lord. So there are 3 levels of realization, right? Of absolute truth: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So there are examples of Brahman realized people becoming, devotees, and then Paramatma realized persons becoming bhakti yogis. But there is no example of a bhakti yogi becoming the other way. So the highest realization is Bhagavan. So in this way, the devotee is actually completely satisfied. He's very, very happy. He's enjoying. He's completely in joy. So the devotee also understands what is the truth. They work with detachment, with proper knowledge, and there is first-class meditation. There is meditation also. See, Yashoda was actually meditating on Krishna all the time. She was thinking about Krishna 24 hours. How satisfying him, like, bathing him, feeding him, always playing with him. There's so many pastimes of Yashoda and Krishna. We can see how much she's attached to him, how much she's thinking about him. Not 1 second she can forget. Same with gopis also. Completely in love with Krishna. They're meditating on him always. So Bhakti Yoga, there is meditation also. So we can go step by step and reach that stage, or we can take the elevator. Prabhupada is giving us the easy way. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, take the beads, chant, and, directly connect with the Lord. We can go through the different ladder, It's like some people on ladder, there are 4th rung, some people on the 1000th step, some people maybe 4000, different steps are there. Imagine we are all on different stages. But actually, Prabhupada has made it very easy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also has given us all the instructions. We have to just follow. We don't have to do so much exercise. And according to the different levels of consciousness, we'll see the corresponding activities. Like we see some examples here. One person is painting, right? He's associating with Krishna through his painting, through his art. And this person is meditating. He wants to go merge with the Brahman. This mystic yogi is actually walking on water. So he's trying to attain that, powers, mystic powers. And this is this person fruitive activity, he just wants to enjoy his fruits. He's working so that he can enjoy. So it depends on the level of their consciousness. Based on that, you can see their activities. It's like that. So, next. Okay, before practicing advanced stages of Ashtanga Yoga, one must be purified by the practice of Nishkama Karma Yoga. Therefore, Lord Krishna glorifies Nishkama Karma Yoga in the first two verses. Like how we said, to reach the stage of Ashtanga Yoga, the yogi has already passed through these stages. Okay, Nishkama Karma Yoga and then Jnana Yoga. He already has knowledge. That's why he's gone towards Ashtanga Yoga actually, to realize the absolute truth. Who would like to recite the verse? Hare Krishna.
I'll recite, Mataji.
Sure, Mataji. Please go ahead.
Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Anashrita Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karoti Yaha Sa Sannyasi Cha Yogi Cha Na Nirag Gair Cha Chakriyaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life. And he is in the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Let's understand what they are trying to say. One who lights no fire and performs no duty. See, Ashtanga Yoga actually means to control the mind and the senses, which is very difficult for people. So Krishna is saying Karma Yoga.
Mataji, you are speaking,
Yes.
but we are unable to hear you.
Oh, really? Just a minute. Are you able to hear me now? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji, we are able to hear you well.
Okay. So what we have to understand here is, we all are working in this world to maintain our family, our body, our soul together. We are working actually. And we are working because all this work is done in self-interest for personal sense gratification. But constitutionally, we are all parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. But what are we doing? We are actually working for, ourselves. So we are like different parts of the body, in the limbs, how we are parts and parcels of the Lord in the sense. It's like our hands and legs, they are all working for the complete whole body, right? Like that. It's like nut and bolt and everything in a machine has to work properly for the whole machine to function properly. Like that, we are all, we can play our own part. We can contribute. We can participate in the Lord's plan. But if a person acts for himself, there is no eternal benefit, right? That is not yoga. So if a person acts for the satisfaction of the Lord and not for personal sense gratification, such a person is called a sannyasi and he's perfect yogi also. Because perfection means to act in Krishna consciousness, not to enjoy the fruitive activity. It's not to enjoy the fruits of the work, but to act such that Krishna is happy, to satisfy the Lord. That is actually perfection. So the sannyasis, in the sense is, there are some sannyasis who have actually gone into the forest and they're sitting alone. They're very aloof. They just sit and chant and meditate on their own. They'll be sitting like that for so many years, and people have, whenever we see a sannyasi, we have a lot of respect also for them. In India especially, the moment we see a sannyasi who is just aloof, sitting somewhere, we'll think, wow, this person is so renounced. We do that. But what is happening is, some of them do Agnihotra, Yagnas and all that. That is also for their own self-interest actually. Because their goal is to attain the impersonal Brahman. And there are some mystic yogis. They also, they sit with half open eyes and then do some meditation. And they give up all material activities. That is also for personal sense satisfaction only. They are doing it for their own personal satisfaction. I want to elevate myself in my spirituality. That's why I'm doing all this Agnihotra Yagnas, all this half open eyes, meditation, somewhere alone, all this, they are doing. But a person who is acting in Krishna consciousness, what does he do? He works without self-interest for the satisfaction for everyone. He wants to satisfy the Lord. But what is happening is he's also giving mercy to everyone. Like you see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says, this is given in the purport also. He says, right, na dhanam, na janam, na sundari. He says, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I want to enjoy beautiful women. And then I don't want any number of followers also. It's not to become famous, I want only the costless mercy of your devotional service. That's what he's saying, right? In my life, birth after birth, I want your service. And by being like that, what is happening is they're raising everyone's consciousness. They're trying to help the entire, they're the only one who benefits the society, because they're actually changing another person's consciousness also. They're giving this knowledge of Krishna and everything, and they are selflessly working for that. So there is no personal self-interest. They just want to serve the Lord. And there you can see how Prabhupada's mercy, traveled all over the globe. So many temples, so many followers, so many people benefited from this Krishna consciousness movement. Okay, there is no verse. You just have to read this. Can somebody read this, please? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, shall I read?
Yes, Mataji, sure.
What is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga or linking oneself with the Supreme, O son of Pandu. For one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. Shall I continue, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, if you are able to.
Both lead to the renunciation of sense gratification. Bhakti Yoga, to become attached to Krishna and work for him, thus controlling the mind and senses. Ashtanga Yoga, to give up attachment to the fruits of work, control the senses, focus the mind within. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Okay, we living entities actually, all of us, we have no separate independent identity. Okay, we cannot take out Krishna from anything at all, because we are the marginal energy of the Supreme Lord, like internal energy, Antaranga Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti, Tatastha Shakti, we are the marginal energy. When we are captured by the material energy, we are all conditioned. And when we are aware of our spiritual energy, that is our real nature, natural state. So that's why we are called marginal energy of the Supreme Lord. So when a person is in complete knowledge, what happens when he realizes all this, he knows what is real knowledge, then he will automatically stop all material sense gratification. So that is yoga practice, actually, restraining the senses from material attachment. That's what it means. But a person in Krishna consciousness, he is actually engaging his senses for the purpose of Krishna. So he is simultaneously a sannyasi and a yogi. So this process itself is purifying. The purpose of knowledge is jnana and sense control. So both are actually happening in Krishna consciousness. So this automatically, whatever the goal is, that is served automatically in Krishna consciousness. So it is easier than the Ashtanga Yoga process. Who would like to recite this one?
Hare Krishna Mataji, happy to.
Sure. Hare Krishna.
Aruksho muna yogam karma karanam ujayate yogarudasya tasvaya yaga sama shama kamaranam ujayate. For one who is a neophyte in the eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means, and for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Would you like to read what is given? Okay.
The process of linking oneself with the Supreme is called yoga, which may be compared to a ladder for attaining the topmost spiritual realization. This ladder begins from the lowest material condition of the living entity and rises up to perfect self-realization in pure spiritual life.
Okay. Hare Krishna Prabhu. So the yoga ladder that we discussed some time back, it can be divided into 3 parts. Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. So the beginning stage of the ladder is Yoga Rurukshu stage and the highest is Yoga Ruda stage. So the beginning stage, when they're actually entering into meditation, they follow a lot of regulative principles and they have to practice different sitting postures, lot of exercise. And, all these exercise they do so that they can control their senses, control their mind, bring it into equilibrium. Because a person who is in complete knowledge and who is a yogi will not be disturbed at all. Whatever is happening in the world, he will not be disturbed. Like in the previous chapter also we read, right? A self-realized person is always happy because he's connected with God. His consciousness is on a different level. So by perfecting meditation, what is happening? They will stop all disturbing mental activities. That is the goal. But again, Prabhupada says in the purports, for a Krishna conscious person, right from the beginning, he's on the platform of meditation because, the activities are like that. You're constantly working, your senses, you're giving work to your senses and we are doing something or the other for Krishna. We are reading about Krishna, we are hearing about Krishna, we are singing his kirtan, we are chanting. Anything, any little activity that is given to us by the temple or whatever you are doing. While cooking also, we can cook for Krishna. And then offer that and same, you give it to your children also. Giving prasad to the children, their consciousness will change. Everything, that way we bring about a change in the family also, in our surroundings also. So distribute prasad, they say, right? Like this, for a Krishna conscious person, they're already on the platform of meditation. They're always thinking about Krishna. And they are engaged in the service of Krishna. So there are no material activities there. They have to go to work, they have to earn money, whatever, but their consciousness will be very different. They won't be involved in sinful activities and all. So, here, the Yoga Ruda stage, giving up work, section 2. My voice is clear, isn't it? Okay.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, it's
Thank
clear.
you.
Mataji. Yes.
So yogi may even give up Nishkama Karma Yoga when his mental control reaches the stage of regarding well-wishers, the envious, the pious and sinners equally. It is so difficult to reach that stage. See, Yoga Rudasya. Why am I not experiencing pure consciousness? Work on mind, not on body. Okay. The mind is the central thing, we need the mind to reach self-realization. That is why we have to control our senses, control our mind. Yoga Rurukshu, neophyte. The Yoga Ruda stage, giving up work. Okay, Yoga Rurukshu stage, he's a neophyte. He must work because he's not detached, pure or advanced. Okay, he's cultivating detachment from fruitive results. Practices part-time asana and perhaps pranayama while engaging in karma yoga. It is like a baby. We are taking baby steps, right? Long, like, when we started first batch, that time everything was so new. We have to read this book. This book felt like, oh my God, it's so big. We tried to read this book so many times before. We didn't understand anything. Bhagavad Gita, all of us, right? Many times in our life, we opened it and read. We didn't understand. We had to go through so many classes and try to understand from so many different senior devotees and all. Again and again, 24 hours. And then, I heard from a senior, devotees, they won't even sleep, just to try to understand this. It was like that. So what happens? It is like we take baby steps. First we fall, we crawl, then slowly we get up, then we walk. That's how Ashtanga Yogi also. In the beginning, it's not easy to control his senses and mind. That's why he does all these different exercises. Breathing exercise, that is everything. And then slowly, he'll start walking. It will happen one day. They'll advance. So it is a stage. And Yoga Ruda stage, advanced yogi, how he'll be, he does not act for sense gratification, doesn't engage in fruitive acts, has renounced all material desires, permitted to quit prescribed duties, Nishkama Karma Yoga can be given up, practices yoga full time, he has full knowledge. So there are actually, according to Yoga Sutra, In yoga rurukshu stage, there are 5 different yamas. You know about those yamas and niyamas. Yamas are don'ts. Niyamas are do's. You can do those things. What to follow, what not to do. Have you heard about yamas and niyamas? They have to follow all that rules. Have you heard?
Maybe you can explain to us, Mataji.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yamas means
Mataji.
ahimsa, asteya, satya, aparigraha, and brahmacharya. Ahimsa means they have to be non-violent. That is in the beginning stages. They have to practice this very, very, very seriously. Ahimsa, non-violence, no violence, no meat eating, no hurting anyone through minds, through our words also, in our thoughts also, no hurting anyone. That is non-violence. Violence doesn't mean just have to pick up a weapon and hurt someone. It can mean many other things. Verbally also we can hurt someone. And it's happening while cooking also. We may killing so many living entities are there in our vegetables and fruits. That is also violence. But then that is why we offer it as a prasad. If you offer it as prasad, what happens? It becomes sanctified. That way we are eating prasad. So ahimsa, they have to try their best to follow non-violence. Asteya, non-stealing. Whatever is yours is yours. If whatever belongs to others is other persons. We cannot steal. We cannot grab anybody's anything. Non-stealing, asteya. Satya means they have to be truthful. No lying, no cheating. So they have to follow all these in this yoga rurukshu stage. Satya. Aparigraha means non-possessiveness. This is mine, that is mine. They should have this consciousness. See, to live in this world, we have, right? I can say this pen is mine because I'm using it, or for whatever reason, this house is mine, like that. But they have to have this consciousness that nothing belongs to anyone. Actually, we are here for very short period. We taken birth, we'll give up the body and keep moving. We don't know after giving up the body where we'll go. It depends what body will get, whatever. So they live with that consciousness, non-possessiveness. Nothing is mine. Nirmama, nirahankara. We read that, right? Like that non-possessiveness. They're very generous. If somebody asks for something, they very easily, share. They are like that. Like that Maharaj is there, right? There is one story of an emperor in Bhagavatam who actually fasts for so many days because he wants his subjects to have food. There's some famine going on, drought going on. So what he does is he fasts so that his subjects, his people can eat. Usually in the kingdom, what happens? They have all these grains stored up for emergency. All that is being donated and everything. And he's eating very, very less. After so many days, his ministers are worried about him. And then Brahma, Shiva and all, they want to come and check him. Is he really a devotee of the Lord? Will he really share? And then they come and beg for food and he gives a part of it. Then nothing will be left. This much water will be left for him. That also someone will ask. Then he will donate that also. So they'll say, oh no, this person is really too much. That's how he's like a parent. A king is like a parent, So that consciousness where, he has that consciousness that I am responsible for all these people in my kingdom. They are like my children. I have to take care of them, their needs. So that kind of a leader he was. He used to see, and that Chandala is actually, he says, they call them dog eaters and all. No? He will say, I asked you for water, you gave it to me. Nobody looks at me also. I'm, the lowest kind of a person. I can't understand how great you are. You actually give me water. Then he'll say, why do you think you are different from others? Vishnu, the Lord is in your heart. The Lord is in my heart. The same Lord is in your heart. How can you call yourself dirty? He'll say that. He sees the Lord in everybody's heart. So that kind of consciousness, they have to develop. Then brahmacharya means celibacy. That is brahmacharya, celibacy. So they have to follow all this. And then niyamas means shaucha, santosha, swadhyaya, tapas, and ishvara pranidhana. Shaucha means cleanliness, external cleanliness, internal cleanliness. Santosha means contentment. Be happy no matter what. If something is with you, fine, you deserved it. It was in your karma, whatever. Something doesn't happen, something is not happening, coming to you. Whatever is on your plate is yours. Just be content. It's like that, contentment. They have to practice santosha. Swadhyaya means study of scriptures, self-study. They have to do a lot of that. Study Vedic literature, all that. Tapas means austerity. We saw, how the yogis were following austerity, lot of discipline. With lot of enthusiasm, they have to do all this. Ishvara Pranidhana means surrender, complete surrender to the higher power. They're doing all this with complete surrender. So it's not an easy process. You can see how much of mind is also involved. It's not just about the body sitting like this, breathing like that and all. There's so much going on there. So this is what happens. Yamas and niyamas. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. Mind is very, very important. Okay. Who would like to recite this one? Hare Krishna.
I'll recite Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Uddharet atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva he atmano bandhut atmaiva ripur atmanah. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is a friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Atma here refers to the mind. Prabhupada explains that in the purport also. The mind is the central point of our yoga practice. So here Atma can mean body, mind or soul. It depends on the context. If you see Atma in different verses, it depends, on which context, why they are using that Atma. Does it mean body, mind or soul? It depends, okay? So we are always under the influence of mind and the senses in our material existence. So the purpose of yoga is to control the mind and pull the mind away from attachment to sense objects, not to be attracted by the glitter of the material nature. It is there, right? The moment you step out, we see so many billboards and that and this. I want this also, that also. I want to enjoy this, to enjoy that. And people actually, they delight in that. They feel very happy. They want to show off also. Look, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying that. That Maya is like that. The glitter of material nature attracts us. So she controls us like that. So we must train our mind to deliver, we must train the mind to deliver the conditioned soul from nescience. So this is very, very important. Because we are all pure souls, the Jivatma is actually pure, but it is entangled in this material world. Why? Because the mind is involved with the false ego. And false ego causes us to lord over material nature. I want this also, that also, lording over material nature. So that is what is causing us to suffer. That is the false ego is, that is the main cause actually. Why we are suffering? Because of our misidentification, misidentification of the soul with the body, with matter. That is false ego. So that is, causing so much pain. So the more we are attracted by sense objects, the more we become entangled in this material existence. So actually, if mind is absorbed in sense objects, that is the cause of bondage. And if mind is detached from the sense objects, that will take us towards liberation. So how do we attain, how do you control this mind? Only by engaging the mind in the Lord's service. So the best way to accomplish this is to serve the Lord, engage the mind in Krishna consciousness. See, this is again mind. Mind can be our friend or it can be our enemy based on, it depends. If we can control our mind, mind is our friend. If we cannot, then it can become our greatest enemy. Prahlad tells his father, Hiranyakashipu will tell him, why are you worshipping my enemy? Prahlad says, oh, king of demons, your enemy is your mind. He says that. So who would like to recite this one?
I'll try, Mother.
Yes, Mataji. We'll do 2 more verses and then we'll continue next weekend.
Nasasya yenatmaivatmanajitaha anatmanastu shatrutve vartet tatmaiva shatruvat. For one who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, the mind will remain the greatest enemy. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. For one who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, the mind will remain the greatest enemy. Whether we can be slaves to our mind, or we can, Goswami means somebody who has actually mastered, controlled their senses. They can control their senses. Or we can be Godasa. Oh, my senses, my mind is saying this, let me jump like this. We can become slaves to our senses. So Ashtanga Yoga is meant to make mind a friend, control the mind to accomplish the goal. The yogi will finally meet Paramatma within his heart, and then he will follow his dictation. So what happens to someone who cannot control his mind? He will serve the dictations of lust, anger, illusion, all this. And then he has to live with his greatest enemy, and that is painful, isn't it? Very painful. Okay. Who would like to read this? Hare Krishna. After this, maybe we can stop, and because there is so much information in these verses, we can go and read the purports also by next weekend. If you read, we have discussed almost everything, all the points in the purports we have discussed in the class. When you read, it will really become clearer, much more in detail you can read. Yes,
I'll
Mataji,
read,
you want to
Mataji.
read? Yes, go ahead, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
I think Kishori Mataji has unmuted. Mataji, you can go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
Prakash Prabhu, yeah, you wanted to read, right? Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. For one who has conquered the mind, the supersoul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. The person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same. Bhagavad Gita 6:8. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So when the yogi is very advanced and he has achieved this transcendental position, transcendental position in Krishna consciousness, he will not be affected by dualities like distress, happiness, cold, heat, he won't be affected. He's completely absorbed in the Supreme Lord, in the Supreme. So he's actually in Samadhi, practical Samadhi. So this realization is more important. All the book knowledge without realization of the Supreme Truth is useless. It's written like that. And in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion also, it is given. No one can understand the transcendental nature of the name, form, quality, and pastimes of the Lord through the materially contaminated senses, just by, reading and just chanting all the verses, mundane scholarship, academic knowledge, this will not help us to understand the Lord. Only by, transcendental service, the Lord will reveal himself. That is also his mercy. If you are able to understand Krishna, if you are able to progress, if you are getting more and more service, whatever, that is the Lord's mercy also. That we think we are doing it, but actually he has to, how Yashoda was trying to tie Krishna. She was not able to, and finally she did not give up. She kept on trying, and it was his mercy in the end that she could tie him. The rope was actually very long, it seems, It was a very long rope to tie such a small baby, and she was not able to tie the knot. So ultimately, he allowed her to time himself. It's like that, Lord's mercy. But this realization, all this will happen only when we associate with a person who is in pure consciousness. So that association and that surrender to such a person is very, very important. Others will not get grace of Krishna. So if we want to understand Krishna, if we want to understand all this knowledge, progress, we need a guru again, who is actually very self-controlled and who is on a elevated platform. Because a guru himself would have seen the truth. He knows. He has complete knowledge and he is actually living by example. So by following his directions and working under his orders and all, we'll also, attain Krishna consciousness, will become elevated, devotees. But for that, we have to actually surrender to the spiritual master. Spiritual master is non-different from Krishna himself. He is the representative of Krishna. So if we want to become self-controlled and if we want to become self-realized souls, we definitely need a guru who can, actually take us towards self-realization. So that is what is possible in Kali Yuga. Otherwise, Ashtanga Yoga is something that we cannot really do. And here, a person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral mediators, the envious, friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind. See, Durvasa Muni, so angry with Ambrish Maharaj, but he just focused on Lord Krishna. He withdrew his mind. His consciousness was fixed on the Lord. That's all. He did not react to this at all. He was completely, we can make out how elevated he was with this. And this stage, being equal to envious and enemies and friends and pious and sinners with this equal mind. Like Prabhupada, he gave his this knowledge, his mercy to everybody. He did not distinguish. This is a dirty person. This is a person with different skin color. Nothing. Everybody is Krishna's child. So he was being very, very merciful to the hippies also. Everywhere he went, he did not differentiate between people. He was, you can see his Leelamrita also. There are so many incidents where we can see how merciful he was towards people. So that's how they'll be very, very elevated. 6 enemies of the mind: Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, and Moha. Kama is lust, Krodha is anger, Lobha, greed, Moha, illusion, Mada, intoxication or madness, Matsarya, envy. These are the enemies of the mind. So what we can do is we can stop here. Whatever verses we have done, we'll read those, understand properly. Then next weekend, we can continue, I think. Let's do that. Otherwise, we'll go on and on and on and we become too heavy for everybody, right? We'll do that. You all have Bhakti Vriksha groups, right?